Hi, I'm Zach Fagenson with Miami Today, and I'm here at the Patricia and Phillip Frost Art Museum on Florida International University's main campus for an interview with the museum's director, Damian. During our talk in one of the museum's galleries, Ms. Damian discussed both the accomplishments of the museum during its first year in its new facility, as well as where the museum's headed for the future.
The museums in the Miami art community do have very, very strong art history, art professionals at their helms. Bonnie Clearwater
Sure.
at MoCA, Sylvia Carmina Cubanas, who's now at the Bass, comes from a very strong art background as well. The new interim director at the Miami Art Museum has years of experience and is also a scholar. I think that the recognition of scholarship and the scholarly contribution of a director is very important and is being recognized more and more. When I go around to various organizations to tell our story, give a little PowerPoint, get the support, introduce myself, I will tell you that 100% of the time, the first thing that the person that introduces me brings attention to is my scholarship. Not the fact that I'm an administrator, but the fact that I've published, I've written catalogs, I have served on many, I serve on the Miami-Dade Art and Public Places Trust, on many boards, cultural development boards, grant writing boards. I'm out there, but that's not impressive. That's, okay, she does all that, she has 4 lives. But the fact that I am an author, that I not only curate, but I write the material to go with the work, speaks volumes. And the first thing anybody wants to know is, what's your art background? What do you know? If I give you my 17th century Dutch painting over there, are you going to appreciate my 17th century Dutch painting? Well, that donor knows very well that I know everything about that painting. And what I don't know, I know how to find it out. So I think it's the respect for the academy, the respect for the scholarship that has played a role and has elevated all of the positions of the directors, whether it be the director of locust projects or the art museums in town, and the private collections all have curators. All of those positions are occupied in Miami by people with very strong art backgrounds. And if there was a move away from that a few years ago, with somebody who came in who didn't have as much of an art background as a design architectural background, who has now been replaced by a person who's a scholar and has had really great museum experience, that is kind of an isolated situation in Miami because everybody else really has a strong background. Think about Brian Dursum at the Low Art Museum, who's a scholar in Asia. He's an expert in Asian porcelains. He brings that expertise to the Low Art Museum, and as a result of that, the Low Art Museum has the finest Asian collection around. We have a lot of really good things that he has documented, so I know it. And whenever I have a question, I call him up, and he returns the favor to me. If he has a pre-Columbian, a question about Spanish colonial, or he calls me. So we know that you can't be an expert in everything, but at least I'm not a 17th century Dutch painting expert, but I've had so much art history. I've been to so many museums, but I also know how to do the research. And I'm a teacher, and I teach art historians, and the first thing they have to learn is how to do the research. Sure. You're in a university, you're a problem solver. So you have to find out how to get that information. So I think that aspect, the educational, academic scholarship, is a very important credential that lends to the credibility of a museum. In the Metropolitan Museum of Art, they brought brought a new director from within. He's an art historian. He's a scholar. He's not a business person. He's going to learn to be one real quick, but you have to hope that you surround yourself with people that can answer the questions that you can't answer. I have a great business manager. She knows when it comes to numbers, it's not my strong suit, but I know I can ask her the question and she knows how to answer me. And the bigger picture, I have a vice president of finance that I can pick up the phone anytime and say to her, help, I have this contract, we have a legal team, we have a finance team, I've got a tremendous support group in the university, so I'm lucky. That's the good news about a university museum. Some people say, oh my gosh, you have to deal with all of that bureaucracy. Hey, all museums deal with a bureaucracy. The bureaucracy might be the city of Miami, the city of North Miami Beach. It might be a board, a very powerful board. Whatever, you always have to deal with somebody overseeing what you're doing. As far as I'm concerned, that's a good thing. I liked it when I was here 2 weeks and the legal counsel for the museum introduced himself and said, you will never sign anything. But, oh, thank goodness, I don't have to sign anything. In fact, my husband's a lawyer, and I remember going home to him and saying, oh, I met with our lawyer today, and this is that. And guess what? I'm not allowed to sign a contract. And he said, oh, thank goodness. So that's the good news, that you've got. I consider it good that I have this bureaucracy. Oh yeah, things take time. I wish the purchasing would sign off on things. I wish they'd pay the bills faster. I wish that HR would let me hire next week rather than in 6 months. I mean, I wish there were a lot of processes that weren't in place, but absolutely the good outweighs the difficulties working in bureau. I've always worked in a huge bureaucracy. I wouldn't know what to do if I just had my own little space and 4 people around me. What would I do? You know, who would I call? And now I always know who to call. So